In a fight that absolutely nobody asked for, we have the Microsoft Surface Book versus 6-core Xeon in Adobe Premiere Render Test.
Hey everyone, Chris with Coalition Gaming here, back with a bit of an interesting video. I hope you guys find it interesting. Anyways, so back in April, Adobe released an update to Premiere. Adobe Premiere, lots of content creators use Adobe Premiere for their video editing, and previously it had been better optimized on Mac OS, and now some of those optimizations have made their way into Windows, and that being hardware encoding utilizing QuickSync on Intel iGPU portions of the Intel main consumer line CPUs, i3, i5s, i7s, even Pentiums, maybe even Celerons to some extent. I believe now all those will support hardware encoding, which greatly improves final render times in Adobe Premiere. That's kind of a godsend, you know, and it is something that probably people have wanted to work off of their NVIDIA graphics card, considering the Mercury playback engine already supports acceleration within the timeline, but straight inside of Premiere, it doesn't really support accelerating the final render. That just goes back to the CPU for that step for systems like that. And so I happen to have a Xeon 6-core E5-1650v2 at 4.5 gigahertz across all 6 cores. That's basically an i7 4930K for those who are not familiar with the Xeon naming scheme. So I don't have an iGPU on that CPU. None of the Xeons really do. Only some of them do, and most of those are part of the Macs. So yeah. Oh well. Now, the prospect of Intel bringing dedicated graphics cards is actually kind of a cool thing for Ryzen users and Xeon users that don't have iGPUs, because maybe they'll have a cheap one and maybe we can get that hardware encoding back from an add-in video card. That's kind of neat. It's a neat thought, but you know, we're not going to know anything more on that for a couple more years. So I decided to pit the 6-core Xeon versus the Surface Book. You know, the Surface Book that I have is a Surface Book from, it's a work unit. I use it at work, and it's an i5-6300U. That's I think only it goes up to 3.4 gigahertz turbo, and that's probably not on all cores. It's just a dual core 4-thread CPU. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, and that's really it. I mean, it runs off the iGPU, so we're gonna see how well that hardware encodes for the same video. Now, I've used this video to do my render races before, so there's going to be results for a Threadripper, a Ryzen 2700X, and a Xeon E5-1620, which is like a i7 2700K, and so you'll see that in the video caption. So anyways, let's get to it, I guess. Well, actually, let me get to the specs of the main rig. My main rig is a Xeon E5-1650v2 Ivy Bridge E at 4.5 gigahertz with 32 gigs of RAM and a GeForce 980 Ti. If you want to see more on that video, it'll be linked right up here. And then, well, let's get to it. Let's race these CPUs. Okay, so here we go. The settings are the same on both, and the file size comes out both to 857 megabytes. This is a 1920 by 1080 video at 29.97 FPS, 18 megabit bit rate, and I have the use maximum render quality box checked, but that's unnecessary. It's just something I used to do. And optical flow also not something I do anymore. But this is a video that I've been using, so I decided to keep it consistent and keep using this one. So here is the Surface Book. I guess now it's time to hit it. So I'm gonna hit export on this one, actually. Okay. I'm going to hit X. I have the mouse placed on that one. I'm going to go ahead and place the mouse on this one. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to hit export here. And export here. You hear the ticking? Estimated time remaining 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And let's check on the Surface Book. Interesting. Estimated time remaining 3 minutes, 5 seconds. So right now they're about the same. That's at 3 minutes. And this is at, almost 4 minutes. This is getting interesting. This is getting very interesting. Okay, a little time has passed, and at this point it's kind of clear who's going to be the winner. and it's gonna be the Surface Book. So I'm standing here in front of my Red Beast, and Red Beast is at 2 minutes and 32 seconds remaining. And over here we have the Surface Book down here, hanging out down there. And Surface Book is at less than a minute remaining. Oh my goodness. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the test here, and it started evening out. Things are getting a little more interesting here. Is that I'm thinking is that maybe the CPU or the GPU, iGPU in here is starting to throttle or something, because this is at 54 seconds. It was at 48 and it's going up. And Red Beast over here is now at 19 seconds and going down at 94%. Meanwhile, Surface Book is now at 81%. So it looks like now actually Red Beast is going to win. Surface Book got the whole shot, but Red Beast is just about done. What do we got? Red Beast, boom, 420. So Red Beast clocked in at 420 for that video, and Surface Book is still going. So it's looking like it's choking at the end there. Ooh, it's going to be about maybe 2 minutes behind. Ooh. And there we have it, folks. The Xeon wins that battle, but to me that was by kind of a narrow margin. Surprisingly, the Surface Book came out the gate flying, and it had over a minute and a half lead time, about 80% through the test, through the render, until I don't know, I guess, the form factor of the Surface Book prevents it from having that great of a cooling solution, and I think that was its downfall. But the Xeon just kept chugging along, and next thing you know, when the Surface Book got stuck at about 80%, the Xeon just kept going and flew right on through to 100%, while the Surface Book started struggling, and in the end, Xeon E5-1650v2 6-core took the cake on this one. But that just goes to show you how important hardware encoding is, because it was a relatively close race, and we're talking an i5-6300U. This is what, maybe a 15 watt part, versus an overclocked 130 watt part. And according to Hardware Monitor, the total power that my CPU pulls at its overclock, and it's at about 1.4 volt, is about maybe 160-ish watts. So massive power use differential here, and the Surface Book wasn't really all that far behind. So hardware encoding, something that really should come along more. Hopefully Adobe starts to catch up a little bit more with this, because it would be awesome to enable this feature for the NVIDIA GPUs straight inside of Adobe Premiere without having to use any tricks or go out to Adobe Media Encoder or do anything weird like that. Just switch it over to hardware encoding and hit export. Would be neat. Obviously there are benefits here, and so I have another laptop on the way. I just bought one, got an eBay deal for my wife, but I made sure that it had a powerful enough CPU. It's got an i7-4710HQ, and we're gonna put that one to the test against the Xeon as well pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. This is Chris with Coalition Gaming. If you guys like this video, click that like button, subscribe. We always got more coming. We have our weekly streams moving to Thursdays at 8 p.m. Stay tuned on that, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Also, we have some merch available that'll be linked in the description below. Merch store, any purchases there support us. You get some cool swag out of it. That's awesome. Hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're all over the place. Facebook, Coalition Gaming Crew, and on Twitch as well, Coalition Gaming Crew. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.